And I'm grateful that EJ Antoni from the Heritage Foundation has stuck with us now to talk a little bit about it and give us some reaction. You know, what struck me particularly, EJ, is that his messaging and his tone are exactly the way they should be. We were talking about this with Governor Burgum before, how he's kind of stepped away from the things that tend to irk people, and he's hitting the big issues right off the top in every speech, including this one. So he came out of the gate talking about the economy, talking about foreign policy, talking about open borders, things that matter to people. Your reaction?
Jackie, I think that's absolutely right. And he's talking about things that not only matter to people, but to businesses as well. We need stability at the border, not only because it will reduce crime, because we need to know who's in our country, but also because it's going to help bring stability back to the labor market. He talked about reducing inflation. You know, inflation is not just a plague upon consumers. It certainly is, but it also causes tremendous harm to businesses. We've seen wholesale inflation numbers go up just as much as consumer inflation numbers over the last 4 years. And so all of the things that he's hitting on there in that speech, I think resonate with a whole host of different people from a lot of different backgrounds.
EJ, we got some word this morning that he was talking with members of Congress about tariffs. You heard in this speech he mentioned bringing back jobs. I wonder how you think about how former President Trump thinks about tariffs and what effect that would have on the economy.
Well, look, Brian, I think one of the things we have to remember when we talk about tariffs is that the president wants free but fair trade. In other words, he's tired of America being taken advantage of where we don't have reciprocity in these different international relationships. And I think anything we can do to move towards reciprocity is a good thing.
He talked about how he didn't want money to be wasted anymore. Right now, we're looking at a 6 to 7% budget deficit relative to GDP. A lot of proposals out there for his administration. They're hopeful to maybe get a sub 3% budget deficit. Is that achievable?
Oh, Taylor, it's certainly achievable. I mean, let's not forget, we have been in very bad economic straits repeatedly throughout America's history, and this country has always found a way to come back. So I think there is certainly hope there. But the other thing to remember is that when he talks about inefficiency, I mean, we need look no further than the headlines we get just about every day out of the Biden administration. Look what they've done with EV chargers, for example, spending billions of dollars for literally just a handful of charging stations. The waste, fraud, and abuse is rampant in this federal budget.
Something he snuck in there at the top, EJ, he talked about the Russian warships that are sitting off the coast of Florida. It is pretty staggering when you think about it. You know, when it comes to foreign policy blunders, Biden has made many, but we still sit here and scratch our heads and say, when is enough enough?
Jackie, it's a great question. We are wasting billions of dollars in countless overseas adventures with which we really have no interest and shouldn't be involved in at all. But the other thing to remember is that the Biden administration is slowly but surely taking down the dollar. I mean, and it's not just because of inflation. It's because of doing things like seizing and stealing assets that are held by foreigners. That's a key reason why Saudi Arabia, for example, has decided not to renew the petrodollar agreement. I mean, this poses a significant threat to the dollar status as the global reserve currency, and every American needs to be concerned about it.
EJ, thanks for sticking around with us to listen to former President Trump. We always appreciate your in-depth analysis. Thanks for that.
My pleasure, Brian.